How's it going, everyone? This is your Astrology Horoscope for Thursday, February 8th, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moonbase. Hope you guys are having a great week. Hope you got some rest yesterday. I was definitely feeling it. I didn't do too much, but today, shit is turning on big time. So, the Sun square Uranus, the Moon is coming into Aquarius, going to conjunct Pluto at 0 degrees, where the Sun and Pluto ingress into Aquarius, and where Mercury conjunct Pluto, and where Mars and Venus are also going to conjunct Pluto. So the Moon is coming here in the balsamic phase, right before this new moon, and then the Sun in Aquarius is squaring Uranus. Uranus being the ruling planet of Aquarius. So we've already seen this week some pretty wild, radical shit happen in the world, right? And in the external world. We see people taking radical stances and not being afraid to stand up for truth, and stand up to really show people what's been going on. Really, for decades, but really for the last 15 years of Pluto and Capricorn, and how the larger structures that govern us, the matrix we exist in, and what's been going on behind the scenes. And so many things are starting to bubble up and come to the surface, and we've been feeling that in our own lives, in our personal lives, in a very deep way, in the deepest way, in ways we've never felt. So the Moon is going to conjunct Pluto today, for the first time, with Pluto in Aquarius, with the Sun in Aquarius, with Mercury. We haven't experienced this yet. We did feel it a bit last year with the Moon, but not like this. Not with Mercury here and the Sun. We didn't get to feel Pluto in Aquarius with the Sun in Aquarius. So this is it. And there's definitely some radical changes that are happening in our lives and definitely in our environment. Mercury rules our environment here. So with Pluto and the Moon and Mercury sandwiched here, and the Sun at 19. So there are massive radical changes that are going to be happening to our environment with this new moon. This Sun squaring Uranus is a massive trigger point. Mercury conjuncting Pluto is a massive trigger point. The Moon conjuncting Pluto during all of this is a massive trigger. This new moon is setting a new cycle here for what this Aquarian energy is going to be. And it's like, we have to be able to adapt very quickly and find unique ways to, change our lives, bounce back. There's a lot of intense energy going on here. Later in the day, the Moon will square over to Jupiter as we get throughout the day. So I think what it is like, where we're comfortable with Uranus and Jupiter and Taurus. It's like, Jupiter is this I just am gonna be right where I'm at and have it all and have all I need and way more than I really need, and Uranus and Taurus is just like, if the moment you think you got it all and the moment you think you're comfortable, it's just like, bam, like, here you go. Here's a new way. And you got to adjust and you got to find a new way to, bring more value to your life, find ways to be comfortable in situations, even though it's kind of hard to with Uranus and Taurus. And, if you're planning on moving or whatever, or you find that you have to kind of uproot and land in a new place, like this is going to be happening over the next week here with this new moon. People are going to definitely be maybe forced into situations. Pluto is very forceful here, and Mars is going to come there too. So Mercury is our environment, everything that's right in front of us that we can touch and see and feel, like, all the things that are just right in front of us. That's Mercury. So it's our local environment. And with the Moon here, Pluto, the Sun square Jupiter, or the Sun square Uranus, Like, this is definitely radical changes to our environment, and whatever thing, excuse me. Sorry, I had to sneeze. It came on very quickly. We're experiencing radical changes in our environment, massive shifts. We're seeing it in the world. We're seeing the migrant crisis thing, like having to be forced into new situations and places that are just uncomfortable. And it's bringing up a lot of tension. There's a lot of tension right now with all these squares, and that tension is really forcing us to really get outside of our comfort zones, think outside the box, and be willing to adapt to new environments and connect with new people and connect with new situations. We're not going back to the old world. Like, Pluto will dip back into Capricorn, but it's not like what we saw last year. Like, it's, we're getting the full taste of what this is going to be. And like, we're now programming ourselves for what this new energy and what this new frequency is going to be. So with Mercury squaring Jupiter, getting ready to square Jupiter, the moon conjuncting Pluto, then we'll square Jupiter. And then we'll have the new moon, and then the new moon will be squaring the sun, or the new moon will be squaring Uranus. This is where the program, crashes, right? It's like you're on your computer and you're in the internet browser, and the browser just crashes, or the whole operating system just fails, right? This is where the matrix totally cracks. We're seeing that all over the place. We're seeing people come out and say things and speak their minds and speak their truth and, not being afraid to rebel. Aquarius is all about rebellion, We're seeing it in Europe with all the farmers. Like, people are coming together in a very Aquarian way and rebelling against a system that is not in favor of the collective and in favor of humanity. So, for us individually, like, whatever is not in favor of our local environments, and the people that we're connected to, things in our lives that is going to push and force us to, work out whatever we have to work out and, brush aside or let go of or cut ties with or just, rebel against what is holding us back. And, it can be very gnarly. It can be super gnarly. The moon is going to conjunct Pluto for the first time, with Pluto in Aquarius here, since Pluto's been back into Aquarius. And then it'll conjunct Mercury. So there's a lot to be said today. And there's a lot of changes happening in our environments, and I think with this Mercury getting ready to square Jupiter, and then the moon will square Jupiter before the new moon while the sun's squaring Uranus, I think, there is radical changes happening in our environments, and we have to not be afraid to be that rebellion in our own lives and in the world, and to speak our minds, and to expose things, on a deep, deep, deep level. We're feeling emotions that we haven't felt yet with this moon conjuncting Pluto in Aquarius, and these are all new feelings, all new emotions, but also also new ways where we can detach from our emotions and kind of see things for what it is and see the whole picture and see how things really work together and see how things function together. It's not an easy place to be. It could feel cold. This moon in Aquarius and this new moon in Aquarius can feel very cold. There's wild weather patterns everywhere, The sun square Uranus. There's wild weather shit everywhere. Since we've seen Pluto come into Aquarius, we've seen a lot of crazy shit. And since, some of these Aquarius placements have been squaring Jupiter and now squaring Uranus, we're, through that whole time period up to now, we saw volcanoes explode. We saw some earthquakes. Now we're seeing massive rain and flooding, in certain parts of the world, definitely here in LA. It's like, man, this is like very unexpected stuff, and wherever you think it's not going to be is where it's going to be. Wherever you find the information that you're looking for that's being uncovered, with Pluto and Mercury in Aquarius and this new moon in Aquarius that we're coming into. It's like the information's coming out. Information in your own life is being exposed. Maybe you're exposing information, depending on where you're at with this energy, with this Aquarius energy in your chart. Maybe you're the Mercury right now. If you have placements in Aquarius, maybe you are the messenger right now of hidden information and information that needs to be revealed. And maybe information that you've been sitting on for a long time that needs to be said, that now is the moment where the trigger happens, where it's like, bam. We saw Tucker Carlson, who's going to interview Putin. And he's just like, I don't give a fuck what happens to me. People need to know this perspective, right? Whatever your take on any of it is, it doesn't matter. Like, we're using the astrology here to say, like, this is where people are at right now in your life, in the collective. This is Aquarius. We're talking about the collective and the individual, right? So, I mean, wherever this is happening for you, it's just like, there's definitely some exposure going on here with information and words that need to be said. And it can get very emotional today, but in a cold way. And we don't want to get too attached to the emotions, and say what needs to be said. Because there definitely is going to be some radical shifts and shakeups coming here in the world. And that are going to affect our personal lives too, and whatever's happening in your personal life. You got to really run with it, and you got to really be bold with it. And, fortune favors the bold. That's very Aquarian Uranus energy, the risk taker. You want to be able to take risks in this time. And definitely as Jupiter comes towards Uranus, you got to be willing to take risks. This is the time, Last year, we wouldn't have been really talking about that. We wouldn't have been saying, hey, now's the time to really take the risk, take the leap. If you're feeling called to do something new, do it. If you're feeling called to make a change or make a move in your life, do it. If you want to make a career change in your life, do it. Now's the time, and today, there could be some upheavals within you that could really say, I'm ready. Like I'm ready for something new. Like I have to, make a radical shift here, which can really revolutionize your life and for the better, in the long run. No doubt. Like it's for the better, So this is whenever people start really waking up from this slumber that we've been in, We're going to see this over the next 19 years with Pluto here in Aquarius. So it's like, this is the process of individuation where we separate from source, meaning the source of our programming. Aquarius is also about programming as much as Neptune and Pisces is. Neptune was more the media, but Aquarius is more the programming, the actual code, right? The program of the code that you are putting into your brain or to your operating system. And this is the time where that's being rewritten, Our DNA is being written in new ways. And that can go two different ways, in a natural way and an unnatural way, which, what we're talking about there. So we want to be rewriting our code and restructuring the matrix that we live in, and we're seeing people start to radically just stand up and stand out and say, hey, you know what? Like, this is how I feel. This is what I see. I've been feeling this for a long time. I got to get this off my chest, whether it's in a relationship, this is the time to get it off your chest. Say how you feel, or if you feel a certain way about what's going on in the collective, now's the time to share your perspective because people are noticing. People are going to notice. And with Venus and Mars still in Capricorn, it's like we're still on the path. We're still pushing forward, And this balsamic moon, it's definitely radical and intense. Thank God the moon's in Aquarius now, because when the moon was in Capricorn in its balsamic phase, it was like, all right, we need to catch a little break here. But now it's like today, Sun square Uranus, it's kind of shocking us back into reality. And when we get into Pisces season, the whole vibe's going to shift. But like, this is just like such radical energy that we're in right now. This is like V for Vendetta, or something like it, just any sort of like anarchistic vibe. This is punk rock. This is like heavy metal, right? This is like rebelling against a system, where everybody else is doing this, and there's these people over here who are willing to just like do something different, do something new, and shock the culture, shock your friends, shock your family, shock your classmates, shock the people at your work, but it's all to change and share new perspectives of like, wow, I didn't think of it that way. Like, wow, that is a valid, valuable perspective, even though that's radical and new and different and unique. And, why is your hair pink all of a sudden? Like, what is that ring doing in your nose? It's just like, what's the purpose of that? Well, sometimes Aquarius can do some weird ass shit just to get a reaction, right? Like Aquarius is very much the scientist or the alchemist who's just like, I wonder what happens when I put this chemical with this chemical. Let's just see what happens. And like it explodes, right? And there's only one way to find out, is to actually do it. But you got to be willing to take the risk to do it, to really find out. So that's what this new moon is all about. It's what all these squares to Uranus and Jupiter is all about right now. Is you got to be willing to take the risk to manifest the future that you want. But you also got to be willing to like speak the truth and stand out and have a radical perspective against what's normal. Aquarius goes against all things that are normal. But the shadow side of Aquarius is very much that cult-like mentality of like, okay, like, well, if you don't think like us, then you can't be in our group and you are not worthy, right? That's the shadow of Aquarius. The heart and soul of Aquarius, which is ironic, the heart and soul, which is Leo, the opposition. But the spirit of Aquarius is the individuation and being radical and willing to shake shit up in any kind of unique ways, so with what's occurring in our local environments right now, and definitely in the collective and across the world, like, it's not going to look the same in a year. It's not. It's really not going to look the same. It's going to look way different when we come into 2025 and Pluto comes back here. So, this is the moment where we're feeling that pressure of like, Pluto's putting on that pressure. This new moon is putting on that pressure. The sun square Uranus is putting on that pressure. And Mercury coming to square Jupiter is putting that pressure on our environments. And our environment is going to change in very big ways. So we want to be resourceful. Jupiter and Taurus is all about being resourceful, having the resources. We want to have the resources and be prepared. We want to be prepared for whatever's to come in our lives, Maybe you get a phone call and it's like, hey, you get a phone call for a new job, but you got to quit your old job, right? And it's going to benefit you. Or like, you want to be prepared for that. Like, this is the kind of energy where, you run into a new person that you never thought you would meet, and they're different than you, but there's this infatuation, and it's radical and it's different and unique. It's like you want to run with that, but you want to be prepared for any kind of strange stuff that could come along with it, that you're not comfortable with. Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus is like trying its best to be comfortable right now, and it's not. It's very uncomfortable, and we want to be able to ride that. So if you're an Aquarius, you thrive in this. If you're Taurus, or a Leo or Scorpio, like any of the other fixed signs, like, it can be very, uncomfortable because, with this amount of fixed energy and just like, oh, I'm fine right here. This is who I am and I'm not going to change. It's like, well, not in this energy. Especially when Mars and Venus come in and conjunct Pluto, and definitely the masculine and the feminine and just our personal individual selves as, upright, walking, talking human beings. Like, there's going to be a massive transformation coming along here. And this new moon is a massive transformation. So with our environments, they're changing. or how we view ourselves as, the masculine and the feminine is changing and it's metamorphosizing here. So, and we won't see Venus and Pluto, or we won't see Venus and Mars come together with Pluto and Aquarius next year. So, or maybe later in the year. So, this is the beginning of that changing and us feeling Pluto and Aquarius very personally. This new moon is going to trigger that transformation on a very deep level. So today is a lot of trigger points, and where we can find success through this intensity is being willing to accept change and not stay where you're at, not stay put, not stay stuck, in Jupiter and Taurus and Uranus land, because Uranus is going to force you to adapt and make a change anyway. So, this is very much an exciting time for all of us, and it's an exciting time for the world, but it can be very uncomfortable for a lot of people if you're not willing to just move with it, Sometimes you just have to accept our fate. Mars and Venus is like, we have to accept our fate as human beings, to really achieve our goals and to achieve our destiny. But we have to be willing to accept what our fate and our destiny truly is. Because, if you're following the astrology, it's like, sure, we have free will, and that's a question. We do have the ability to make choices, but within boundaries, right? We can't just, start flying off into outer space. We don't have that choice. That's the boundaries, the very peak of the mountain. And that's what Mars and Capricorn is teaching us and reminding us. So we have to accept our fate, accept our destiny, and keep building and growing that and pushing forward with Mars and Capricorn. We have just a handful of days with Mars and Capricorn. So we want to accomplish as much as we fucking can before Mars comes into Aquarius, because then it's like, it's on. It's go time. Mars, Pluto together, get ready. I hope we're all ready for that one, because that's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a very big deal. Mercury, Pluto this week was a big deal. Mars and Pluto is going to be a much bigger deal. And with Venus following that, it's going to amplify the whole thing. And then the whole picture of what this Pluto and Aquarius is going to be with Mars, Venus, Mercury, and Pluto with the new moon squaring around. It's like, wow, we're really going to get a good glimpse into how Pluto and Aquarius is going to radicalize our reality in ways that we have never experienced before. Technologically, globally, politically, just what we don't have to call it that. It's just the fact that, it's time for change and it's time for things to really start to move, and people are waking up. People are coming out of their sleep, and I've seen it more and more, 5 years ago, it wasn't that way. 15 years ago when Pluto came into Capricorn, it wasn't that way. Now it's like, wow, there's hope. There's hope here, for us to really take the power back. And it's exciting. It's super exciting, but it's very uncomfortable as well. And this new moon is going to really challenge us, Today we got the 4 or the 5 of cups. So, this is like, getting back to our roots, right? We got to get back to our roots and not be afraid to just, take it all off, strip our skin, and get to what's really underneath the surface here. Because that's, this Mercury, moon, Pluto, new moon, like that's what it is. It's this metamorphosizing of getting back to our roots, and what we really truly are is a soul and a human being. We're not slaves. We're not robots. Like, we have a soul, and we have to be willing to express it, and share that with people and share the gifts, and the 6 of Cups is like, it's very much, it's very much this, sort of growth that we didn't know was happening when we were blinded by just going through this reality asleep. And now it's to a point where it's like we can actually see the growth and how people have waken up and how, you know, we've been forced into situations that like the outside forces have forced us into waking up. And that's kind of like the counterintuitive irony about where we're at now as a collective, you know. And the Six of Cups to me always reminds me of like, you know, it's getting back to your roots, getting back to that childlike state and stripping yourself clean of like the masks that have just been very very much damaging to, you know, the truth of who and what we are. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we're coming into a new world. We all feel it. We all can see it. And that's comforting. As uncomfortable as all the Aquarius energy can be, making these squares and this new moon, I mean, it can be very, you know, disconcerting and off-putting. And there's some kind of comfort in that. You know, the Six of Cups as well is like, where can we find comfort? And I think for me personally, it's finding comfort in knowing that things are changing and people are waking up, and that it's not always easy to get to that place. But if we look at the cycles throughout history, we can go back hundreds of years, even thousands, we always come back to this place, and I find comfort in that. And the Six of Cups always helps me get back to that place of, you know, finding comfort. Whether it is just, you know, taking a day off and getting back to that childlike state, or finding comfort in the difficulty of actually coming to a new place and a new evolution that is beneficial to us as individuals and the collective and humanity. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. If you're new to this channel, subscribe to the channel, share this video, find me on Instagram, the TikTok, Spotify, if you like Spotify. My Pluto and Aquarius reading sale is still available on my website. It'll be available till February 19th. It's already booked for February, so if you're trying to book for February, it will have to book you for March. So feel free to do that, because by the 19th, I'm going to have to take that down. So I appreciate everybody who has booked for the Pluto and Aquarius reading sale. This is like a very important, powerful time. And, you know, this is the first time that this is the only time we're ever going to go through that. And the fact that these personal planets are following up, and we're going through this transformation even quicker and faster and more rapid than I think a lot of people are even talking about. I haven't heard much talk of that, of the fact that Pluto coming into Aquarius and these personal planets following up is very, very different. It's a very different and more fast, rapid evolution than we've ever experienced. So thank you guys so much. I'll see you for the new moon on Friday. So get ready, because today is really going to shake shit up in a really badass way. Peace out.